I coming back with another video. So in the last one, I was talking about the joy de vivre that I experienced with my uncle, who was very poetic, and he had similar tastes and also lifestyle as me, because he was a pizza delivery driver for many years. I was a pizza delivery driver for many years in the same area as him. He was a driver of school age children for many years. He was more so the lower grades, and then I became a driver of school age children for several years, in different areas, but also in the area where he lived and was a driver. So my life was very reminiscent of him. But then also I have a little bit of like verbal I have a little bit of verbal sensibilities, and I have a penchant for engaging verbalism. As much as I do these videos talking on here, I've done far and away more. I have now over 500 videos talking, running my mouth on YouTube. But I would say that I have much more time on my hands watching videos, listening to people talk, interested to learn things, but then also reading books. Just an appreciation for verbalism and the beauty of words, both technically, but with a learning focus, and also artistically. But that doesn't throw. I've been more so nonfiction is what I've engaged with, but that actually doesn't throw out fiction, because some things, even as much as I attempt to announce on this, pronounce on this channel, what I'm doing is prosaic, is prose. It's actually straightforward. No, it's not. I might have a little bit of humor here and there, but it's more so. This is what I think about this, and this is what this may be. Boom, right, direct. That's actually a little bit bland, and it doesn't represent the highest form of artistry and effort. What would be more sophisticated is if I could convey this like in a story, or like in fiction, because some of what you convey in fiction, it can actually speak more to life than what you could say in nonfiction, because people can see themselves in a character, or in a scene, or they can see people they've known or circumstances they've lived in a scene. And so symbolically, metaphorically, fictitiously, you can construe and convey parts of the human experience which are also other people's experience. Whatever you can imagine of the human experience, you would have to reference other parts of lived human experience, because you can't exactly do fiction without a reference of nonfiction. So whatever you would convey with fiction, it would borrow from the real nonfiction that is human existence, and all people are part of and share influences from the broader human experience. So the human experience, it affects all people. What happened to George Floyd affects all people. Who Adolf Hitler was affects all people. Who Martin Luther King was affects all people. Who very humble people that we don't know, that could have been wickeder than both of them, consequential than both of them, kinder than both of them, may have existed. And we also we also experience their contribution. They say, like, a lot of the things, there's a handful of people and things that have made huge contributions to the human experience that we may not know who they are, but we know of them. Like, who came up with the word cool? The word cool would likely be a metaphor. That's like, so cool is refers to temperature, but you're also, when you say cool, you're referring to an attitude and a bearing and a demeanor. I think that a lot of what cool is, when you're saying cool, is what you're actually saying is covered when you say cool. So, if you know people who are, the one way you can tell the difference between a person of a military background and a civilian, is that a civilian is very comfortable standing straight. According to Sebastian Younger, um, people with less seasoned around things like militarism, um, are about like bushcraft, like fashioning survival against opposition, whether that be the elements and or other people, whether that be unconscious opposition that's still intelligent, and coordinated, would be the elements, or conscious opposition that's both somewhat conscious and unconscious, but that's directed consciously as human beings coming against a person. A lot of that whatever demeanor that would produce, whatever inclination and bent towards life coming through that, against that, within that, and beyond that, would constitute a person's psyche and character, is a lot of what's called cool. So you can appreciate that in something like a cowboy, some of the lifestyles of like what a cowboy would be. Bushcraft, like just surviving in the wilderness, survival for survival's sake, going up against the wilderness with limited means, and then also like a military exploit. Conserving, rationing, limited resources, limited intelligence about an environment, so forth against opposition. Some of that would be appreciated, and the comfort with standing straight up and getting low, being comfortable getting low quickly, as defaulting. A civilian would default to comfort and uprightness, and not be aware of actually the dynamics of what could make you more supple and actually survive things no less than your posture and standing and positioning in an environment would be a civilian. But someone who appreciates how hell of bad things can go quickly and how they can go differently by how efficient you are, no less than your position and stature, low being better. A lot of that would be the demeanor that would make someone cool. But who did actually conceive the word cool and make it popularized? We don't know. They say that the Hot Boys, the rap group, the Hot Boys, they coined the word bling. It may only be recognizable that they coined that now because you have mass media, and you had it then in the late 90s, where you can clearly derive that and extrapolate that they had been the first to promulgate that. If they were the first one that ever, if they did not get that from a subtle person like an old head or a wino or a wise guy or a young kid that said bling, that could stand to reason. If I'm not trying to take no shots or take flowers away from the Hot Boys from popularizing bling, but I'm just saying we don't specifically know the first time anything got said, when, where, and how, but it gets bigger than big, such as that people don't know any different. Another one would be the word okay. So I did for my students when I was a bus driver. A lot of times you can't get that far with authority. If you try to put your foot down and say, so you take your foot off the gas. I'm not saying like break the bus to punish the students, but figuratively speaking, you take your foot off the gas and you put your foot down, and you shall not do that because I say so. That will last you all of a couple minutes, and then they're going to test you. And then when they see that you can't stand by that, or you have to put it in writing and make things get hella bad for them and for you for having to put it in writing, just because you don't want to raise question about your efficacy in command, in leading the students. It's not a good look for anyone to put things in paper. The staff appreciates it because they're for logistical purposes. There needs to be a paper trail, but you don't win any cool points with staff or students or parents or feel cool by putting things in paper. And there were a couple times where I had some students do some egregious stuff, and I told the school officials about it. But I was like, I was a little bit, I was like, okay, I still have the discretion if I choose to put it in writing, since something egregious didn't happen. And I was like, I'm gonna pull them aside and talk to them about this, is explain the reason we do or don't do something, instead of just simply going straight to discipline. And the administrator, the actual principal somewhere, was like, yeah, I think you might be smoother with that, and you might get farther with that and be more successful than just being hyper punitive. He was appreciating that. But all I meant to say is that to get along with people, to get by with people, leading people below you, your peer, not below in terms of like stature and authority, at your level and beyond you, coolness goes further. So what would be cooler than like putting your foot down all the time would be to show them cool stuff before they get to misbehaving. So I would teach them stuff they didn't know, like M&M stands for Mars and Murray, and OK stands for all correct. Back in the 1800s, like young people, they would misspell things in letters on purpose, like to be cool, like people do now. And all correct would be like with an O and with a K to be cool. But who was the first person to do that? You may not isolate who was the first person, but it stands to reason that there was one first person to say okay. Nowadays, any and everyone says okay constantly, as much as they did, if not more than back then. And people know what it means, but they actually don't know what it means or how it came to mean that. So that's how influential one person can be. The whole world over is okay with the word okay, and they don't know what the hell okay means. But one person got that started. So a lot of our life, we can say it might be a handful of people that we don't know who they are that got us onto being and doing something. And I a little bit digress with that, but I was gonna say that but I got more content.